Hey, it's Cayley. I am back with another What Sold from Last Week video. If you guys are new here, I do these videos every single week where I go over things that are selling really well for me on the three main platforms that I sell on, which are eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. I go over what is selling in less than 2 weeks and also some of my higher price sales and some things that you guys should be looking for. So if that interests you, don't forget to subscribe down below so you can be notified when these videos go live. All right, we're about to dive into the sales, but if you guys are new here, some of the questions I get asked a lot on these videos are about my cost of goods. The net number that I report to you is the net earnings from the actual sale itself. I still have to subtract my own cost of goods, and right now my average cost of goods is around $4. Part of that is because I go to the bins and buy lots of stuff, but I also buy things at regular thrift stores and other various sourcing streams mixed in. So with all of that, the bins tends to bring my cost of goods back down, and it's about an average of around $4. So you should never compare your sales to somebody online because you're going to have your own cost of goods and your own fees. Things like promoting your listings or extra additional fees that other people don't have should be factored into your own numbers. With that being said, let's dive into the sales. All right, diving right on in to my fastest sales. I had a lot of really fast sales under 2 weeks, which is crazy. You guys know my goal is 90 days or less, and 90 days is actually really fast for things selling online. So if you're new to reselling and your items are taking, a couple of months to sell, it's actually really, really fast. 90 days or less is my goal, and these items that I'm going to share with you right now sold in 2 weeks or less, which is like lightning fast. I'm going over my sales that happened July 12th through July 18th, and this very first one is a brand you absolutely want to look for because it is very high sell-through rate. I believe it's over 100% sell-through rate on eBay. It's called Young Maven, and that is spelled J-U-N-G, Maven, Young Maven. Their stuff is made out of hemp and organic cotton, and it's also made in the USA. Now, they're not selling for a ton, more of a bread and butter flip, but they're very overlooked at both thrift stores and the bins, so they're pretty common to come across. This one is just a plain women's t-shirt. You can see just how plain it is, which is why they can be good grabs. Nobody else is going to get them. I expect this to sell for around $25, and with offers that I automatically send out through Nifty and increasing my pricing when I cross-post to Poshmark, this ended up selling for an automatic offer of $23, which again is an automatic offer that was accepted by a buyer. This sold the same day that I got it listed, which is insane. So $23, this made my order earnings $18.40 on Poshmark. Next up, I had some Depop sales last week. This is the newest platform that I've added, and it's quickly becoming a favorite of mine. It definitely doesn't make as much as eBay or as much as Poshmark, but it is becoming a consistent platform for me, which I like. Took me a couple months of being consistent myself to get here, but very happy with the results. This one is a style-based piece. This is actually just the brand Japna. I have 3 different ways that I source: sell-through rate base, factor stacking, and then style-based. So this is a style-based piece, and that means that brand doesn't matter at all. I got this strictly off of style. This could have been any brand. So Japna, this sold in just 1 day after being listed. I listed it on Depop for $30. And again, Nifty automatically, I have like the bot set up to automatically send up specific offers on each platform, which you can do. And I'm able to capture sales like this really quickly before the buyer loses interest. So this one sold on one of those automatic offers for $25.50. And that made my earnings on Depop $20.98. One thing I do like about Depop is even with their boosting fee, which I do boost everything in my store, I think it provides like insane visibility. Even with a boosting fee, they're still some of the lowest fees compared to all platforms. So I really like Depop for that reason. I use keywords such as Milkmaid, Renaissance, and Ren Fair with this one. Tops like this, especially when they're in a lighter color, white, can be leaned into so many different aesthetics. This could be layered underneath of a Renaissance dress. This could be worn to a country concert with a pair of cowboy boots and some denim shorts. This could also go very cottagecore. And so versatile pieces like this, when they can heavily lean into, not just kind of lean, but heavily lean into multiple different trending aesthetics, are things that I like to wash, rinse, and repeat pick up because they get to the right buyer quickly. Okay, next up, another lighter colored shirt. This one is a Ralph Lauren linen shirt, and Ralph Lauren is having like a moment right now. It never really went away, but with the popularity of the old money aesthetic, it's just had like an even bigger resurgence. So I'm paying a little bit more attention to Ralph Lauren and their other lines, and I recommend that you guys do too, especially when they can lean into the old money aesthetic. So this one is old money aesthetic. It's also linen, which is one of the best materials to pick up right now in spring and summer. Very soon that's going to shift. Buyers are already starting to look for fall stuff, I've noticed in my store. You guys told me you've seen it too on the last video in the comments. So, just be cautious with the linen that you're picking up, but when it's carried with a good brand, I would still be picking up linen, and I still am. This one sold lightning fast just 2 days after being listed. I got this at the bins, I think on a sourcing trip that I did, and this sold for $35 on Poshmark, and that made my earnings $28. Lots of things going for this. Good brand, good material, obviously. The color leaning into the aesthetics that I use, and it's also long sleeve. So long sleeve is a little bit more substantial. It's going to make a difference on pricing. My exact title for this was Ralph Lauren linen button popover shirt, size medium, relax, coastal, and old money. Next up, these might look familiar. I can't remember if I showed them or not, but these sold so quickly and then immediately got returned. The buyer just didn't like the way they fit, and then they immediately sold again, which is no surprise to me because this is one of Crocs' most popular styles, called the Sandra Circle sandals. So if you ever see this little circle on the Crocs, they're probably the Sandra Circle sandals, and they have a crazy, insane sell-through rate. And just as a side note, Crocs is an amazing brand that most resellers overlook because they're kind of everywhere. A lot of them are worn down. They don't seem like they would be a brand that would flip really well, but they do flip so well, and most of their styles in Crocs have over a 100% sell-through rate, so they're definitely worth looking up. I make a lot of money selling Crocs. I would not be passing up Crocs at the thrift store. Always just do a Google Lens and then check your comps. So these ones sold again for my full asking price of $30 within just 3 days after they got relisted. That made my earnings $22.76. Crocs is also something I come across a lot at the bins, and they're super lightweight. So it's not like some of the heavier stuff at the bins, like coats and jeans and things where you have to like factor in the price. Crocs are super lightweight, and that's why they can be a really good footwear brand for you to look for. Okay, next up we have a style-based piece. This is the brand La Piece. It is not really one I would memorize. I would have gotten this regardless of brand, but this is a true Y2K label, and it is a silk dress. Longer length, midi, and it had some excellent features to it. There was an asymmetric hem, it's got some beading, and it just overall fit the Y2K, or one of the Y2K aesthetics that I buy for. The silhouette of it is really good. I use keywords such as beaded and silk in the title and Y2K, but I also used 90s and LBD for little black dress. And this one ended up selling for $40 on Poshmark in just 3 days of being listed. That made my earnings $32. Next up, another dress sale. This one I got from the bins. This is just me, or maybe it's Miami. I think this brand is sold at Francesca's, and not a good sell-through rate at all. But this style was a good one, despite it being it is like a shorter length, which I don't typically do with style-based dresses, but because it was long sleeve, it was a really good color. Shades of earthy greens like this are doing well for me. Had the ruffles all over it. I just felt like it was a really good pickup, even though it was a mini dress, and I was right. So this is a just no-name brand dress. My title was Green Ruffle Baby Doll Dress, size small, Forest Fairy Whimsical, Bohemian, and long sleeve. This one, because it was shorter length, I did feel like I needed to give it an extra edge just to make sure that it moves. So I put it on an AI model, told ChatGPT to put like the cowboy boots on it and how to style it. And I do think that this is what sold the item. If you want to learn, exactly how I go about ChatGPT AI modeled images, I did make a video about it. You can search Cayley Elaine AI model or something like that, and you'll see the video where I show you exactly how I do it. But I don't do it with everything, only things I feel like need it. This definitely needed it. And I am happy I did that because it sold in just 3 days after being listed for my expected price of $25, and that made my earnings $20 on Poshmark. So nice, quick little bread and butter flip style-wise. And yeah, keep your eye out for style-based pieces like this if you know how to elevate them. Okay, next up, I swear I mention this every single What Sold video, and it's because I find it often and I sell it just as often. This is the brand Quince. It has an amazing sell-through rate right now, and it's kind of flooding thrift stores, which sometimes can be scary because you don't know when it's going to become oversaturated. But I have not seen the sell-through rate go down on this brand. So they're known for being affordable luxury. So pretty much anything I find in Quince, I always check sell-through rate. It always has a great sell-through rate. Plus, this is also in a very good style for spring and summer, which are wide leg linen pants. So a good factor stacking moment here paired with a great brand. It's going to be an obvious quick flip. So these ones sold in just 6 days of being listed for $30. That was an offer I accepted on Poshmark. And that made my earnings $24. I used keywords such as coastal, beach. In the description, I had a bunch such as neutral, minimalist, vacation, resort, nautical, old money, and quiet luxury. Again, with these lighter colors, really leaning into that old money aesthetic, perform really, really well. Okay, next up is a Depop sale. This one was nothing to write home about, but it was a super quick flip. I don't mind flipping things for around $20 if I know they're going to flip quickly and I didn't pay much for them. So this is obviously a super lightweight item. I didn't pay much for it, and I expected to sell for around $18 to $20. So this is a Y2K vintage Guinness beanie hat. And just like a tip, not everything, but if you ever see Y2K or vintage alcohol things like liquor or beer, I always look them up because there can be a huge following for some things. So keep your eye out for them. This did have good demand, but just wasn't selling for that much, but I thought it was worth it. So we picked this up and listed it using keywords such as Y2K and beer. And listed it for around $18 on Depop, and it ended up selling for that full asking price of $18, and that made my earnings $16.89 on Depop. Next up, an eBay sale. This is one of my favorite brands to pick up, and just as a category for spring and summer, I love selling swimwear. And in general, I try to stick to one pieces or sets. One pieces can be really good. Buyers see it as a complete package because it is. You only need one piece. And it tends to elevate brands that you wouldn't normally get. So I'll show you some examples of it here in just a moment with some of my other sales. But this is a brand you definitely want to look for in one pieces called Miracle Suits. If you can get them in larger sizes, like plus sizes, they can go for $50 plus. This one was just a size 12, but it was kind of their classic shaping ruche look, which is what this brand is known for. So we knew it would be a good flip even with it not being plus size. This one we listed at $35. It did sell for full asking price in just 7 days of being listed, and that made my order earnings $27.21. Next up, another wide leg linen pant. This is also in a great brand called Standard by James Purse. James Purse makes like capsule wardrobe, minimalist wardrobe, and they tend to use really good materials. And then again, paired with a factor stacking moment that is trending is just a no-brainer. I would say Standard by James Purse is higher retail, so that's why I price these ones up a little bit more. But all of the same like type of keywords that were in the other widely pants, the Quince ones, were also what we used in this description as well. This one only took 12 days to sell. I listed it for $55 on eBay, and it sold for full asking price, again, in just 12 days. And that made order earnings on eBay $41.87. Next up, another Depop sale. These are a great brand to look for in footwear called Spring Step. Les Artistes by Spring Step. Spring Step not so good, but the Les Artistes line is good, and they tend to have these like higher quality leather, really unique, kind of wacky shoes. These ones are sandals. I normally try to stick to their boots, but some of their sandals can perform well. And the good news is that the style name is usually on the inside of the shoe, so they're really, really easy to look up. These ones were called the Laga Floral Pattern leather sandals. These are in a size 8.5. I listed them for $60 on Depop, and they sold on an offer for $41, which I accepted in just 12 days of being listed. And that made my order earnings $34.15 on Depop. Next up, a brand that you definitely want to memorize called Dixon. It's actually called Dixon Flannel Company. And they used to only sell flannels, but they got so popular, they've kind of branched out into some other things. Like this is a Hawaiian shirt. They typically have themes to their stuff. Reminds me a lot of like the Roosevelt's shirts. This one is just a wacky print. There's hamburgers all over this. And you definitely want to look up like the exact one that you have. This one is a line called Latitudes. So I did look it up and do the comp with that information. This Hawaiian shirt by Dixon only took 13 days to sell, and it sold on an offer for $54, making my earnings $43.20 on Poshmark for a pre-owned shirt is crazy. So I wanted to show you that, guys, this one, not only because it sold quickly, but it's just kind of like an outlier. Things you wouldn't think of in certain brands. You might be walking like right past this at thrift stores because you're thinking in your head, okay, I'm looking for flannels in this brand. I'm not thinking that, you know, they're going to make Hawaiian shirts. So I like showing these to kind of put that in your head at the forefront of your mind as you're outsourcing so you can find some of these. Next up, this is a completely style-based piece. No name brand. This one is a satin milkmaid crop top. These are very, again, just like bread and butter pieces for me. This one only took 14 days to sell. I was actually surprised at how quickly this sold. This one I expected to sell for around $25, which is what it ended up selling for on Poshmark, making my earnings $20. And this sold in just 2 weeks of being listed. I probably wouldn't have gotten this if it did not have the lace-up back. So this was really like teetering the line of not having enough factors for me. But because of this lace-up back, I decided to get it. And I use keywords such as puff sleeve, milkmaid, coquette, satin, and ballet as well. This was kind of ballet core because of the color of it. All right, now moving on to some of my higher price sales. This one you might recognize. We actually got this in warmer weather, and so it's sat, unfortunately, even though it's a great piece, and we're just now starting to head towards fall. And so because of that, this item has sat, even though it's a great piece. And we priced it pretty high with best offer turned on, and we decided we're just going to go ahead and sell it on an offer just because, again, it's been sitting for a while. And once something reaches past 90 days for me, like, I'm just trying to move it. I don't want to wait. I could have held out for multiple months on this till we were in like colder weather to sell it and get full price. But just in terms of how I think of cash flow, I would rather get the money now, reinvest it and keep moving it than wait multiple months in the future. So this is the brand Kith. It is a very good brand to look for. It can be faked, so you want to be careful. Nikki actually found this at a Goodwill opening. I've talked to you guys about thrift store openings before. They hold the better stuff for it. This is an example of that. So this was a Kith all over print mountain scene Sherpa pullover, and like great factors on this, great brand, substantial piece, and that all over print is something I'll be looking for come fall and winter. I think we originally had this price for like $250 or best offer or something crazy like that. And we ended up selling it on an offer for $140, which is a message somebody sent me and asked if we would sell it to them for that. And we went ahead and sent them the offer through messages, which they accepted. This one took 144 days to sell because, again, we listed it closer to the end of winter season, and it sat. So that made my earnings $105.66. We only paid $4.99 for it, so I'm making over $100 in net profit, which is amazing, but good lesson to just be really competitive with your pricing, especially if you are not going to be able to sell it within the appropriate season. Okay, next up, this was a consignment piece. This is a beautiful Peruvian connection. This is a good brand to know. Good following for this. They make lots of high quality material stuff. This one was also new with tags, which is really cool. Now, the thing about this brand is not everything has a high sell-through rate. Not everything has a good demand, so you really want to look everything up. This was called the Mango Saint Tropez midi dress. And we listed this for $150 or best offer, mainly because we weren't really sure what to expect. It was kind of a unique piece. And we received an offer in 76 days for $115, which I went ahead and accepted. That made the order earnings $88.35, and I'll split the net profits in half with the consignor. My cost of goods was zero on that since it is a consignment piece, but definitely a good brand to look for. Next up, this one also might look familiar. This one got returned for fit and immediately sold again in just 17 days after getting it relisted. This is a very popular style and a very popular brand for this style. So this is a J. Crew roll neck sweater. This is a men's. This one had a lot of condition issues. I found it at the bins when I was in South Carolina, and it just had such a good sell-through rate, but I didn't realize how many, I knew it had some holes, but it had a lot of holes. When I got it back, Nikki had to patch up a bunch of them. So I kept that in mind with pricing. They're all patched up. However, even if you patch something up, just the fact that you have to mention it is going to be another barrier for your buyer to overcome versus maybe somebody else has the exact same piece or similar, but there's no reparations on it. Or repairs on it. So just, keep that in mind. There's lots of stuff to overcome if you have a flawed item, even if you've repaired it. So, because of that, I priced lower. Had this not had all the issues, I would have priced this for over $100. So with it being repaired, I listed this for $75, and this ended up selling again for full asking price super quickly. That made my order earnings on eBay $57.69, and come fall and winter, I will be picking up this style like crazy. Next up, this was another consignment piece. This is Free People. One of my consignors has been, or maybe it's consignees, I can't remember, but one of them has been sending me a lot of like higher end Free People stuff, which is really cool. These were called the Tahiti cargo pants, and Free People, although it is oversaturated, does have some like pretty top-notch high sell-through rate stuff in it if you know what you're looking for, and I definitely think their unique pants can do well. So I used keywords such as Y2K on this, and Gorpcore and Boho. We listed these for $60, and they sold for an offer to watcher sent out by Nifty for $50.89. That made my earnings $38.02. And again, I'll split that with the person who consigned it with us. And this one sold in just 79 days, so under my 90-day goal. Here is another Free People piece. This one was not consignment. This is a beautiful, here's that lighter color again, gauzy, white, eyelet detail, full button, long sleeve top. So lots of great stuff. We use keywords such as peasant, crochet, eyelet, and boho. This was called the Far Away Fields top. And we listed this pre-owned for $35 on eBay. It took only 26 days to sell for full asking price, and that made my earnings $25.47. Again, tops like this can be leaned into so many different aesthetics. It's got, substantial long sleeves. So the point of it is lots of factor stacking and great style-based stuff all in one piece. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to have just a few factors that people are looking for. You want to have tons all in one piece. And that's how you can make for a really good flip. Next up was a Poshmark sale. I got this in a reseller buyout, I believe. This is an Eddie Bauer women's chore coat. Same kind of story with this. This one took a little over 90 days to sell for me because, it wasn't really listed in the peak season for something, but I still thought it was a great piece. So we ended up accepting an offer for $34 for this, and come fall and winter, these barn chore looking coats will again be a style I'll be picking up a ton of. This one was a really unique one. It kind of had a sweater material on the outside and then a fleece lining. Again, it was a women's. If this was men's, I could have probably gotten a lot more for it. So again, I used keywords such as chore, outdoor, and barn. And yeah, this sold over my 90-day mark for $34. That made my earnings $27.20. Okay, so we're through the higher price sales. Didn't have a ton of those, but I did have some more bread and butter / slightly higher ASP of just some things that sold well for me in the last week that I thought you guys might want to know about that you can look for. These are just like just pieces I thought maybe you're not thinking of. So this is the brand Hey Dudes. Similar to Crocs, a lot of their stuff has really high sell-through rates, and they're often overlooked. Similar to Crocs, they're also very lightweight, so at the bins can be good pickups. Specifically moving into fall and winter, if you can find Hey Dudes men's boots, they seem to have an elevated sell-through rate. These are my husband's, so $0 cost of good to the business. I just donated them to sell. And they had some pretty decent wear on them, not gonna lie, but they had an amazing sell-through rate. They were called the Bradley leather ankle boots in a size 13. Because of the all over wear, I listed them lower at $35 pre-owned for Hey Dudes, which is really great. And they sold in exactly 90 days for an offer of around $30. That made my earnings on eBay $23.42. And again, $0 cost of goods on these. But yeah, Hey Dudes is one of those brands I definitely think are worth looking up. And similar to Crocs, they're going to be something that a lot of people pass on. All right, here is another one-piece swimsuit. This is a good example of brands that you might normally pass on, but when it's a one piece, you might want to pick it up. Land's End in one pieces, depending on the factors involved, can do well. This one was a plus size, so that really helped to elevate it. I'm also just noticing it was new with tags, and we don't have it listed as new with tags, probably because, nope, it had the liner. I don't know why we didn't list it as new with tags, but it still sold. You can see this one also has a very similar shaping to the Miracle Suit one. It's got that ruche detail, which is what a lot of buyers are looking for in one pieces. So I think that's why this sold so well. This one only took 38 days to sell. And again, it's Land's End. I listed this for $35 and it sold on an offer for $30. That made my earnings on eBay $22.47. This would otherwise be a brand I would leave behind, but in spring and summer, if it's paired with a one piece, I really like flipping these. Next up, another brand that I pass on most of the time now is Talbot's. However, sometimes there can be a lot of factors that do well. These were called the Perfect Short, and this style in particular has a pretty decent sell-through rate depending on the size. These are a size 14, and they are also new with tags, and they were also that seersucker stripe look. Oh my gosh, we have a spelling error at the title. 2 listings in a row with issues. It's fine. They still sell. So I use keywords such as preppy and Hamptons on this one. These could also go in that old money classic look, which I put in the description as well. So again, Talbot's or really any brand, when it's paired with the right factors, can have a really good sell-through rate. So don't ever discount a brand. And if you see these perfect shorts, it is on the inside. Definitely look those up. These ones I had listed for around $35 on Poshmark, and I accepted an offer of $27. That made earnings $21.60, and these actually only took 49 days to sell. All right, another style that is still performing really well for me are these tennis sweaters. This is just Liz Claiborne. This is a vintage sweater. These tennis looking sweaters, especially when they have cable knit detail and they have the striping, always perform well for me, and they can be really quick flips. This one sold for $26 on Poshmark, making my earnings $20.80. And again, Liz Claiborne isn't a brand I normally get. This one was strictly flipped for style-based reasons. Another style-based piece, something else that's performing really well for me, I've mentioned it in several videos and thrift hauls, longer length denim skirts, especially when they're true vintage like this one is. They're selling like crazy for me. And again, it's because they can heavily be leaned into multiple different popular style aesthetics. This one, I took the like Western routes and used keywords such as like country and ranch, and midi length, maxi length, because of the length. But I've been flipping so many of these and brands that I wouldn't normally get. So definitely keep your eye out for them. And I think they'll still do well in fall if they're, again, longer length. Shorter length doesn't work. Longer length does. This one I had listed for $30 on eBay, and this one sold in just 22 days for one of those automatic offers for $25.39. That made my earnings $22.23. Next up is a brand I wanted to make sure you guys knew about called Roller Rabbit. I've actually never come across one of their dresses to my knowledge. They're known for like this brand is known for like their prints. And this is kind of a unique dress. It is a midi length. It's just like a pullover shirt dress, but it's like a patchwork print design, and had a decent sell-through rate. I listed this for $30 and it only took 51 days to sell. It sold on one of Nifty's automatic offer captures for $25.39, and that made my earnings $20.20 on this piece. This brand, like I said, is known for their prints, specifically their pajamas. So if you see this brand in pajamas, you definitely want to be looking it up. They have a really good sell-through rate on some of their pajamas, so keep your eye out for it. All right, and lastly, I'm going to finish up, as I do in every What Sold video, with 3 kind of regrets, things I wouldn't do again, and show you guys some of the mistakes that myself or my team was making. It's mostly me doing it now, but back then for some of these pieces, it was my team helping me, and just like some things I would avoid and why I think they didn't sell. So to start off, I think the theme of the 3 that I pulled is just because you hear somebody say a brand is doing well for them online does not mean that everything in that brand is good. And unfortunately, I hear some people, especially with style-based stuff that I show you that sells, just take off with the brand. For instance, this is No Boundaries. I've sold a lot of No Boundaries stuff, but the brand didn't matter. It was just a good style-based piece. But unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of people go, oh my gosh, I didn't know No Boundaries was good. I'm going to go buy all the No Boundaries stuff and try to sell it. That is not what you want to do. So I try to pick some things out that I'm seeing. This is No Boundaries. I have sold No Boundaries in the past, but this was picked up for style reasons, which means brand did not matter at all. I got this because it was a baby doll style. It was brown, trending color, good silhouette. It was true Y2K. This one did not sell very quickly. This one I had listed for 261 days, and I have price dropped it. Once something hits 90 days, I price drop. And this ended up being price dropped to around $17, and it ended up selling for around that price. again, almost a year later, and my earnings were only $13.65 for this piece. Why do I think this one's that? I just don't think there was enough substantial factors that made it unique above the competition. So if this would have had some puff sleeves or maybe an asymmetric hem or some beading or something like that, maybe it would have done better. But yeah, it definitely did not perform well for me. So remember, when you're hearing people talk about a brand do well on a what sold video or thrift haul or whatever, it's not everything in that brand, and especially if it's a style-based piece, like don't even consider the brand. It's just the style that people are picking up. All right, next up, same case here. This one's actually a brand-based piece. This is Patagonia. And again, just because somebody picks up something Patagonia doesn't mean you should go and pick up all of the Patagonia stuff. You want to be very careful about the style you're picking up and making sure to do your comps. So this is called the Los Gatos fleece vest, and it did not move well for me. I think the saturation has increased on Patagonia. You got to be really careful of the pieces that you're picking up. This Patagonia women's vest I had listed 257 days ago. It took that long to sell. I price dropped it. It ended up selling for around $15, which is not high at all for Patagonia. And my earnings were only $11.56. So definitely not worth it. Make sure you guys are doing your comps and not getting like, I don't know, just like stars in your eyes just because you see a good brand, especially for fall and winter. I feel like Patagonia is one that can definitely get people. All right, and then next up, again, style-based piece. This is Exhilaration. I have sold a lot of Exhilaration style-wise, but it does not mean it is a brand that I'm seeking after. This was a style-based piece one of my previous employees got, and although this does have good factors, it is definitely missing a lot of factors, which is why it sat. This one is just a sheer lacy baby doll tank top. Again, there's some good factors, but in order to elevate this piece to the price that I would want, which is around $25 or higher, this one would have needed to have something more special about it. If somebody can go online and find something like yours or something, you know, similar or the exact same one, and your competition has it cheaper, it's just a race to the bottom, and that's why your listing is going to get constantly passed over. It's going to have enough uniqueness, unique details to make people stop and want to have pressure to buy it versus they're looking at a piece and they're saying, oh, this is just like anything else I could find, which is what I think happened with this piece. So this one I had listed for 241 days before it sold. It ended up selling for around $16, making my earnings $12.34. All right, guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you all enjoyed watching. Let me know down in the comments, are you guys prepared for Q4? I am really excited about it. I'm going to be switching over all of my sourcing to fall and winter very soon because I am noticing some of those sales start to come through. Let me know if you're ready down below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!